Back, well, the Zanele Mbeki Trust is hosting women from 55 African countries for an African Women in Dialogue conference. The aim is to discuss women's power and voice as agents of change. So let's expand on this exactly with the Foundation's management trustee, Nana Mahumola. Nana, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting us.
I must ask you, I mean, as soon as you hear African Women in Dialogue, one wonders, is it just going to be another conversation where a lot of women gather around and they lament and they voice their concerns about gender parity and some of the issues that they're facing, and then they go back to their households and face the reality with nothing being done all over again? What makes it so different?
This is quite different, and the issues that you're raising are actually true. Very often conferences like this happen, and beyond that nothing happens. This was well thought through. First of all, we have women from 55 countries in Africa. And we specifically made sure that the women that come here are not only the usual suspects. We have women, the bias was towards rural women and urban women. So we're looking at women who will come in there and bring the voice of the voiceless women. To give you an example, some of the women we brought in had never been outside their village. And also to make sure that, you know, their voices are heard. There are parameters in terms of how the conference is held. First of all, when you walk in there, you're just Nana Mahumola from South Africa. You're not a doctor, you're not a minister, so women are equal. Yeah. What that does is it makes it possible for women who are usually marginalized to be able to speak. Secondly, we made sure that because it's across the continent, we have translators, so nobody will be left behind because they cannot understand what's happening. But the whole idea was to say, we know what the problems are. So what is the new thing that we're doing? What we're doing now is to make sure that these women, we create a strong voice, a strong movement of women who beyond this, they'll be able to walk away from the conference having understood what the issues are, and also understanding that, you know, when you're sitting in your little corner, you think that your problem is your problem alone. But now when you have so many women understanding that this is a Pan-African problem, and how do we tackle it? So there are strategies that are put in place, and there will be follow-up actions beyond the conference.
I mean, we speak about follow-up actions from the last one. I mean, the first one, which was held, I think, last year, had about 16 countries that were represented. So what follow-up has there been since the previous one? Because, again, let's be honest here, we always have these conversations and conferences, and we know about this, where it just happens to be a lot of women sitting together in one. I 100% agree. Women need to be given a voice, and they need to have a conversation. What happens beyond the conversation when they get to the very same rural areas?
First of all, what happened is last year, it was like listening to what the issues are, to see how the commonalities are, and to say, are we going to proceed or not? Do we need to hear more and see what would be our focus as African women? That is why we had to go back and make sure that we invite women from all over the continent, and there's been a lot of conversation going on around between now and then. So that has been going on, and more importantly, with there are several commissions that are taking place, and beyond these commissions, and there will be action points. Remember, next year is Beijing plus 25. So again, there will have to be some action points that we've done to make sure that, you know, our women's voices are heard, and that there are specifics that we're going to follow up on.
I mean, when we're talking about it, I mean, looking at the fact that we're looking at women across the African continent as well, right? So we've got a woman who's in Malawi, and a woman that is in Ghana, a woman that is in Zambia, a woman that is in Nigeria. Then how do you formulate and actually solidify that connectivity? Because today they gathered in one place for the next 5 days. So from Monday until Friday, they gathered in one room, and they're able to conversate in a very safe environment. As soon as they get to their respective countries, one may feel marginalized and alone all over again. And Nana, who's in South Africa, is completely far away and far removed from the situation that's happening in Malawi, there in Blantyre, in my household, if my husband is beating me up.
Okay. For starters, the coordinators, it may be in South Africa, but we have coordinators throughout the continent. So there is a follow-up from there. But also remember, these women are not really that helpless. Sometimes you need somebody who can say, I hear you, and if you have those challenges, how do we unite and act together as other women? So it's not going to be a top shop where now they leave, they go to, for instance, we've got women from Burundi. Yeah. Now the expectation is not that if they have problems and they're looking for answers, they'll come to South Africa. There is a regional coordinator. So we expect that women will, now that we have created this a platform for them to unite, to understand that we are Pan-Africanists. They will know that you're not only on your own, you have other women you can talk to, and then you follow up from there.
I think that I have to commend you in the fact that you're now spreading the message, not just about South African women talking about it, it's African women finding solutions to African problems in a safe environment, and that is commendable. For the mere fact that conversations are starting like that, it means that we've moved the needle, even if we've moved it from 0:00 to 5 past.
Plus, we are funding ourselves. By the way, we made sure that this is a platform where women are funded by themselves. So we are creating our own agenda, and we have our own vision. So we don't have to beg men to make sure that it happens.
All the best with that. I look forward to seeing the outcomes of that African Woman in Dialogue there.